Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone. So as the house move gets ever closer, the stress levels start to climb, and today I thought I would tackle a reproduction in my own way of a very famous painting painted in the late 1890s, which shows somebody going through a little bit of a stressful situation. So I'm not really going to analyse the painting or anything like that. I'm just going to do my kind of fun version, if you like, of that kind of image. But I'm going to be using my Dina Wakley multi-surface journal. So I'll just turn over to my overhead camera and show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is the Dina Wakley multi-surface journal. Like I said, I've opened it up at a double page spread on the craft card, and I don't often use these in art journal pages. I just find the craft a little bit limiting. This, on my journal, the pages have actually split. I've just given up and I've actually split. I think it's the join of two signatures that were actually glued down the middle rather than being secured properly, but that's just the way the journal is. So to give myself a base to start off with, I'm going to give both double page spread a coating of white gesso, and then I'm going to start building up my image for my art journal page on top of that. So the first thing obviously that I need is some white gesso. So this is the G So Good white from Indigo Blue. I'm hoping it's not too bright, and I'm just liberally going to add the paint on both sides. Now the focal point is going to be on the right hand side, but I will carry on kind of like the background pattern onto both sides. So literally I'm just going to grab a paintbrush, just dry it off, and then just whack on some of that gesso into the background. Okay, so that's the white gesso. I'll get it dry and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my white gesso down. I've got a Stabilo All pencil. So this is a water-soluble black pencil that hopefully will kind of dissolve when I add some of the paint onto it. Now, the painting itself is fairly dark, and there's lots of black and black line in it. So it's not going to look out of place if I leave some of these black lines on. So I'm just going to kind of divide the page up a little bit into kind of how I want the page to be laid out, because that's probably a bit too high up, which is fine. Let's bring that down a little bit. It's not a slavish representation or reproduction, just my kind of playful take, if you like, on it. So I'm just going to just draw a couple of kind of wavy lines across the top and just do a little in the background, and then on the top I'm going to do that's my main kind of sketch. You probably guess what it is almost straight away. do have a reference piece just off to the side. Sometimes, even though you've got like a dark material or a dark intent for your page, because I've said before, not all art journal pages have to be all bright and kind of, you know, bubbly, and art journaling is a place for you to express or work out feelings, and those feelings that we have aren't necessarily always good. So it's a good place to be able to dump and relieve stress, and that's what this page really is. It's a stress reliever. It's not meant to be anything too serious. It's just more of a fun way of blowing off a little bit of steam and just having a play, basically. It's just an excuse, if you like, to do something unusual, something a bit different that you wouldn't normally do. Okay, so I'm going to start laying down the colours in the background now. So first thing I need is just a smaller kind of brush. There we go. I'll use that Ranger one that kept chipping on me. Gorilla Tape, marvellous stuff. Okay, and then I'm going to put the base colour down. I'm going to put brown base colour down first. So this is one of the indigo blue portrait paint. And I'm going to use the warm tan, just as kind of a basis or a base. And it's going to be kind of really loose, loose painting style on that, because the original painting of the Scream was, you know, extremely kind of loose and fluid and followed flowing lines, if you like, and circles, a bit like not in real style, but paintbrush style wise, very, very kind of reminiscent of Van Gogh's Starry Night. So we'll put kind of like the brown base. Also, just bringing that little bit of, because there's a kind of like fence in the painting. So I'll bring some of that brown down here as well. It's almost craft card colour, doesn't it? So I'm putting brown back down on a craft card that I've already painted white. Iron is not lost. That'll do. So kind of darker ground. And then when we start laying down the oranges and the reds and the yellows, because there are some yellows in it too, and blues as well in that sky. That I think will kind of do, and then we can a bit more at the top. It's literally just putting the base, the underpainting, if you like. Okay. Now then, drop that in some water. I need a smaller paintbrush. So let's see if I can find one that I've put away. So this is the problem when you've started packing up, ready to move, and then all of a sudden you need stuff. You can never find it because you've tidied it all away. No, not in that box. There we go. Perhaps in this one then. This seems to be mostly paintbrushes. Let's see what we've got that we can... I'll leave that fan brush out as well because you never know. A couple of those. I even use that one and that one. Yeah, no, I think that's going to do it for now. Put those to one side. Right, I'm going to bring out I think the Dina Wakley Sedona next, and I'm just going to put some blobs on the page, and then using that brush start laying down a little bit of a base. Now obviously the original painting would have been much larger than this. And I found that when you're trying to recreate or trying to paint, you need paintbrushes that are appropriate kind of size. There's no point trying to use a huge paintbrush on a small painting. You just can't get the detail in. I think you do kind of lose a lot if you try and use too big of a brush, which stands to reason really when you think about it. So I think actually even that one probably is going to be a little bit too big. So let's add some orange into there now. With a smaller brush. Working the paint in, just adding in wavy lines. So get that movement into the background. Okay, I'm going to try and partially dry this off now. I don't want it fully dry. Okay, that'll do. Just grab my polypropylene mat that I'm going to use as a little bit of a palette. I'm going to start bringing in a little bit of blue colour, some darkness. So I'm using Marine, so Dina Wakley Marine. So I'm just going to load the brush up, and now I'm going to start adding in sounds like Ian's just come back. So with introducing the colour while it's wet still a little bit, it does help to blend those waves a little bit, rather than having the stark kind of lines on the background. Start building up the shape of that kind of landscape behind the figure. Okay, I'll do the same thing again. Start drying it a little bit, but not 100%. Okay, so the next I'm bringing in the night, which is almost black, but not. It's actually a really deep blue. So now I can start to just add in those darker colours. Into that background. But because the paint's still a little bit wet, do get the option of doing a little bit of blending in that background. Now in the original painting there's like a boat in lake, or it's like a bay, and the figure is actually walking along, and there's like a fence behind, which is like a quayside wall, and in the distance you can see like a bay, and there are boats in the bay, and there's two figures over to kind of like the left hand side of the painting that are almost like behind the figure, because they're walking down with this kind of like fence thing, or along the fence. But obviously this isn't a slave, like I said, it's not a slavish reproduction of the page, so a little bit of artistic license is, I think, forgivable. I'll just add a little bit of that darkness towards the top, like night setting in. Hence the red sky, which is like a sunset. And if I put too much of this dark colour into it, it's not a problem, because I can just add in some more colour, some more orange and red over the top once it's dry. So, and like I said, not a slavish reproduction. So in fact I'm just going to bring some of that orange in now with a smaller brush. I say orange, it's the cheddar. And I'm just going to start kind of painting round, blocking in the screamer's head shape. Just add a little bit more of that orange back in again. So I think I did go a little bit too heavy-handed. Grab a little bit more of that dark colour and just bring that down. Just trying to break up the large blocky areas. So we've got kind of like that sky in the background. We've also got almost like the silhouette, if you like, of a landscape behind, which is fine, which is good. Just adds a little bit of structure kind of like into the background. Just take that up. And then there we go, just make it a little bit darker. Okay, so just get a little bit of blue, lighter blue this time. This is the ocean, indigo blue, Dina Wakley Ocean. And I'm not even going to bother cleaning the brush. I'm just going to take a little bit of that blue and I'm just going to now add in a few wavy lines. Just all helps. Just to, when you introduce a colour in one place, if you introduce it somewhere else, it just helps to gel the whole page in together. And I think, rather than trying to do a kind of slavish or even assemblage, you've got the general idea of the actual where it's taken from. So I don't really think you need to even fully complete the painting. If you know what I mean. Your artistic license can be, interpreted in different ways. So we've got that. Okay, so just dry that off a little bit. Okay, so back in with the red. So I've now got Dina Wakley Sedona, and I'm also bringing in some more of that cheddar. smaller brush still. So this time, let's bring that background back in. And just again back at this side, just to kind of continue. It's darker, but then it would be because it's kind of like in the background and in the shadow. I mean, you can do what you want with this. Just the main thing is, obviously, I'm a little bit stressed today, so I just need something just to kind of relieve that kind of little tension. I'm going to mix up a little bit of that blue. Now that I'm almost finished with the Sedona, add some more of that dark colour into the background. Okay, now time to grab the orange, the lighter colour. I'm actually going to start just to break up the pattern a little bit. Because we've used kind of like wavy lines up top. Just adds a kind of chaotic feel to it in the background, so you're not really sure what's going on. Yeah. Just add a little bit more darkness. Get that line back in. Yeah, I think I'm fairly happy with the way that background's going, so I'm going to dry that off now. Okay, so I've been looking at this section here and I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just bring in some more white gesso, and I'm actually going to just go back over the top of that area there and just break it back up again, so I've got kind of like a triangle-y corner area here, because I do want somewhere where I can actually write and do a bit of journaling and vent my spleen in. So this is exactly where it's going to go. That'll do. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. It's light enough that it's going to give me some space to journal in without being too big or too small. So get those put to one side, the paints put to one side now. Then I'm going to dry off. Okay, so next up, now that's all dry, I'm going to start building up my main character here. So I've got some of the portrait paint again from Indigo Blue. This is the Fair, because the character in the picture is kind of pale-faced, kind of pasty white. So I'm going to start just adding in. Now remember when I said about using the Stabilo all pencil, because it would blend, and because the character has got a lot of kind of black lines, then it's fine, because you'll be able to incorporate those into the actual painting itself. Hello Ian.
Good morning everyone. Oh, it's the Scream.
My take on
Alphonse Mucha. Is it Mucha or Mucha? I can never...
Edvard
Munch.
Munch.
Munch was it? Yeah, Mucha's the Art Deco one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Silly me. I'm just putting stuff away. I know it makes it.
You what? You tidying up?
I've bought some glue sticks. 32 sticks for £1, remember? So I'm just putting them in the glue stick box.
Did I hear Mr. Bentley barking in the background?
He was just guarding the periphery.
I was going to say, who is he telling off?
I think it was a squirrel that looked at him funny.
So first coat of paint. So this is just fleshing out, literally just fleshing out.
Oh, very good.
The character's face. So what I can do, obviously, when I've got the first layer of paint on, is then we can go back in, because it's actually quite a warm day today. The paint's actually drying really quickly on the page, so I might not even have to dry it off.
What paint are you using this morning?
Well, this bit that I'm doing now is the Indigo Blue portrait paint.
Right, cool.
So, but I have done the background and everything with Dina Wakley media paints.
Got you.
So I can hear Mr. Bentley in the garden barking his head off.
He's not happy.
He's telling somebody off.
As I say, somebody's looked at him a bit funny.
He's telling somebody off out there.
I think it's a squirrel. It may even be the cat from next door.
Ah.
In fact, it's probably the cat from next door.
Right.
It won't hurt him.
Of course it won't. Right, so hands next. So like I said, just loose strokes. Just build up the shape. I'm not worrying too much about defining lines or anything like that, because that can all be done later on. We can finesse with black pens and that kind of stuff, just to outline, because the original painting, like I said, has got lots and lots of black lines in it. It's actually quite obviously a dark painting, but once we've got the base coat on, we're good to go, kind of. Right, I'm going to dry that off a little bit. Not the whole way though. Okay, so it's almost dry. So I'm bringing in that medium beige next, which is the darker of that kind of Caucasian skin tone. Hello, Mr. Bentley.
Puppy here. Hello, puppy. Been barking at me in the garden.
You come to tell us what you've been doing.
Apparently, somebody took down the mine. What you got it?
Okay, so
You got in your head. It smells funny.
let's just start adding in a little bit more.
Geraniums.
Oh, it's been in the flower bed, has
Yeah.
it? So I'm just adding in and fleshing out again just a little bit more. Darker, a little bit of a darker shade. then just start adding in over the top where we've got bits of shadow, if you like. I think Mr. Bentley's just decided to go back to bed. So just blend that paint in. That will do, I think. And then I can finesse that in a little while. Okay, let's just get that dry. Okay, so next up I want to try and put the base in for, well, the clothing, if you like. So I'm going to go back to that marine colour, so it's a darker blue. I'm not going to go black because I'm going to reserve black for adding in the separators, the dividing lines, if you like. So I'm just going to use this darker colour and paint out the clothing. So of course I'm going to probably start concentrating so I'm probably going to forget to talk. So I'm just going to bring in a little bit of that night. Just add in a bit more darkness around that back end. Just a hint of shadow. Paint that sleeve out. Get some of that night in there. And then just using the darker colours just to kind of give you that hint of shadow. I mean, I can darken it with the other colours later, as in the oil pencil. And the black pen that I'm going to use to do all the separating, the dividing lines. But just for now, I'm just going to blend out that darker colour just to create kind of like that shadowy effect. And it's difficult for me at the moment because the paint's shiny, which makes it really kind of difficult to see where I've been. But I'm doing my best. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so the tunic or whatever he's wearing is fairly kind of dry now. So I just want to address these darker patches up here, the eyes and the mouth. So I've just got a real fine brush and I'm just going to go in now, because if you actually look at the original source drawing or painting, the actual original painting, it's not a completely black mouth. It's actually just darker with a kind of sketchy outline. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, and also the eyes are not what you would normally expect, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a little bit of light paint there and a little bit of the dark, and I'm going to do just a slightly darker tone or a lighter value, I think they say. Just in those eyes. Just let that Stabilo all pencil do kind of like the hard work. If it's too dark, I can just go over and add in some darker lines later. Soften it out with a light charcoal pencil. Just grab that darker colour again. Just add a little bit, just a tiny, tiny tad. Just give it a hint of shadow. Okay, I think that is going to do for adding paint. So the rest I'm now going to add in with detail pens and some pencils. So I'll clear this up, dry that off, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we're kind of dry. So I'm going to just add in now some pencils. These are just the Derwent Colour Soft pencils. So I'm going to just start adding in and kind of blending out some of the colours. So I've got a grey here somewhere. So we can now just start to add in those kind of sketchy lines around the ends, around the ends. I'm liking that. Now then, let's just see if I can define those a little bit more. So this time I'm going to use, or try and use, the Pigma Micron pen. I don't want to use the food ball pen. So we can just... That's better. I don't want to go too harsh with it. But I actually don't think I need to do any more. I'm actually fairly happy with the way that's turned out. So all I need to do now is just to add, possibly, let me just have a look at the source material again. So, so those were the two figures which I'm not going to bother with. That's my character there. We've got kind of like that blue to black kind of silhouette landscape in the background. Not bothering with putting anything in this little lakey area here, and I've got my kind of wavy sky. It's not quite as bright. My sky is not kind of as bright, but I still get that impression, or we still get that kind of effect of a sunset sky. I could, I suppose, bring in some lighter orange and just add some highlights in, or even some white later on, but like I said, I'm not trying to do a reproduction or a slavish reproduction of Edvard Munch's painting. I want to do my kind of take, my version of his character, and I think I kind of like him. I think I've captured the essence of the original painting, even if I do say so myself. So, journaling time. I'm going to add my journaling over here. And I think I'm going to do it on a kind of... Yeah, maybe on a camber. So let's just start with some lettering. Okay, so I'm going to work on these letters now just to thicken them out. So this is going to be a little bit of a boring process. Let's see if you're not bored to tears already. So I'm going to just put this on fast forward probably, and then I'll join you when I've fleshed out these letters a little bit more. Okay, so preliminary lettering done. I'm going to let that dry, or I may just give it a quick blast with the heat gun, and then I'm going to add some highlights. I've decided I'm going to add some white highlights, so I'll be back once everything's dry. Okay, so I've got a white Signo Uniball rollerball pen, and I'm hoping that the food ball is sufficiently dry for me to be able to just add in a couple of little highlights on the writing. I'm not bothered about too many, just to add a little bit of interest. Just to kind of break it all up a little bit. Just flip that around. There we go, so we've got a little bit of detailing on the actual writing, and then I'm just going to add, if I can get the pen to work properly, here we go. Just a little bit in the background. I don't know why it keeps stopping unless it's running out. Let me see if I've got another one. I normally buy them in 2s and 3s. There we go. Kind of just helps to define that kind of silhouette in the background. I think that no, didn't like it. Off it comes. No, I think those white highlights are enough, and I'm not going to do any more. So that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign it and date it, whatever today's date is. There we go. That's it. That is my little homage to that little famous painting, and it just helped me just to blow off a little bit of steam today. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank Thank you.